Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pitch Please. This is the podcast where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them.
Woo!
And isn't that right, Tom? Tom Hazel?
Oh, yeah, it is. That's me. Yeah, that's right. And we've got two developers with us, but also a special guest. Oh,
Who should we introduce first? I don't know. I'm too excited.
I mean, I just said the special guest, so
excited,
let's introduce Tom 2, or in the purpose of the Yogscast, Tom 1. I definitely fall down the ladder there. We've got Angory Tom with a hip new game idea.
Hey, how you doing? Hello.
Doing good.
How's it going? What would you like to be called for this to avoid confusion? Do you have any other nicknames that you prefer?
We can just call
or would you
Hazel.
like
Hazel.
us to call Tom a different name?
Yeah, just Tom is fine.
Tom.
I guess I can change to like Ace Thorn Rock.
Ace. Just Ace.
Iceman.
Or
Goose.
like Granite Hardman. Something really
Alright,
cool,
okay, so
you
we've
know.
got
Pistol.
Tom, Granite Hardman.
Pistol Whip.
Chris from Brunch Club, and also here again this week is Ruta from Landlord Super.
Hello.
Nice.
Hello.
So usually Tom's pitch hole is
Pistol Whip.
Sorry, Pistol Whip's pitch hole is ready to go.
Yeah.
Unless we have a guest, which we do in this case, and he has a banging idea apparently.
Banging.
So please let's hear it, Tom.
Well, the game, it doesn't have a title at all. I'm not a games designer by any means.
Perfect.
But
We'll get there. That's fine.
I play a lot of games, and yeah, I think it's just like putting together mechanics from other games. So a lot of the way that I'll describe this game is by referencing other games and mechanics that I'd steal from those,
Exactly.
and merging them all.
That's how we make all of our games. We just say like, hey, you remember this game? And did you remember this game as well? What if we mixed them together? Did you want that? No? Oh, no.
Bam. So that's it. So on the simplest level, I'll describe this as the main mechanics that are being stolen are from FTL, SimCity,
Oh my
and
God.
Hearts of Iron.
So could you describe? I mean, everyone I guess knows what SimCity is, but could you describe FTL, please?
Okay, so to be honest, you don't need to worry too much about the whole overarching aspects of FTL, but that was sort of like a roguelike spaceship kind of management game where you fly along, you upgrade your ship, and then you get to have like random events, and you're kind of like progressing through the game, and that goes like that. And then
What about Hearts of Iron?
Hearts of Iron is like a grand strategy thing where you are. God, I've never really played it that much. It's a bit dry for my taste.
Is it like Civ? Is it just kind of like is it a 4X thing? Is that what they're called?
Well, it's like a grand strategy. You're like building stuff and choosing your policies and going to war. I don't know. It's like a World War
and there's
II
like
game.
a lot of political stuff in the game as well. Like you can make yourself a communist, and you can then ally with. It's crazy. There's tons and tons of stuff in the game.
I thought you would be really into that, Tom. I thought you were really into like.
Oh man, it's a bit too much like a spreadsheet for me.
Yeah, it's Excel, but it's on the world map and set in 1940. That's Hearts of Iron.
And SimCity is just everyone knows SimCity is So so what are you doing with these three?
Okay,
what's the combo?
Okay, so the idea of the game is you're going to play a sort of like a roguelike city builder. Something that I don't think there are many examples of. And so this is like the idea. So you are building like a city, and you'll have like a picture that's going to be old school SimCity style, maybe a bit cuter, and like an isometric. Everything is tile based. Just putting down little blocks. You'll have your residential, your industrial, your commercial zones, and you'll have to also build. You'll have access to, a police station, a hospital, a fire station, and you're gonna have to put some of that stuff down just to make sure the city is kind of functioning, but have that stuff all pretty easy going, pretty chill, and it's not going to get like too hardcore in depth. And over time, you'll also have like the option of like if you put down maybe lots more, if you've got more police stations than you necessarily need, then you'll have like some bars that will say like, oh, your city is more authoritarian than not. And over time, you'll have events that will pop up, a bit like in FTL. Did you guys play FTL?
Yeah.
And so the idea would be these random pop-up events would happen. And if you have like certain buildings down in your city, that will unlock new options. So it might be like, oh, there's a crime wave. What do you want to do? Like, do nothing or send out the police. Whereas if you have like lots of police stations, you'd be able to say, oh, instigate martial law right now.
Nice.
And
so how is this working with placing stuff down? Are you having do you just have as many infinite police stations, and you can say, well, I want to just make a city just full of police stations, but then you're penalised if you do that, or is there? A certain amount that
I think there'd be some options, some level of like you need enough people, like you're still going to have to grow the city and collect taxes and to be able to afford all of these like amenity buildings that you're going to place down. And so you'll still need to be like building to a degree like a little functional city based on it, like whatever its own rules are. Like for every square of like residential, that's going to bring in one unit of tax.
Okay.
And a police station is going to cost 1 unit of tax to put down. But then, so not only will like these things unlock stuff, but also if you've got too many police stations, like events might come up that you won't be able to choose like a great option on because you have too many police stations. Like, oh, the big peace festival. Oh, turns out because you've gone down this route, you aren't able to take some
the classic peace festival.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm just spitballing here.
You can't
so I'm imagining that
everything placed too many gun stores and everyone has guns.
But yeah, so that would be exactly it. So like you'd be able to make policies as well in this game. So there's this other game that's called Cityscape that came out a while ago, and I thought like, oh my god, they basically made this game that I've been thinking about for a while. And
good.
It was kind of similar, but it wasn't great. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. And in that, it was constantly presenting you with like a law that you have to choose a policy on, like gun control. Is there, no one is allowed firearms. All guns are banned outside of extreme situations that the police might use them. Then down to like, oh, private security can have them. Anyone can have them if they've got a license, or just anyone can buy infinite guns, and that would then affect some stuff in the game. But it was basically just, does it make poor people happy or rich people happy? Was kind of what the game boiled down to.
Okay, so I guess in that scenario of like picking that tree, if you say, oh yeah, everyone can have guns, then that means you need a higher police demand, right?
Well, so potentially, yeah, you'd have the higher police demand, but then maybe you'd have other events that would, once you've selected something like that, the game would then trigger, this pool of events that's happening will then be like, oh, let's say if you were to go a bit wackier, there's a zombie apocalypse now. And it turns out if everyone has guns, actually you're going to do pretty well in the zombie apocalypse. Whereas if no one has guns...
If there's a peace festival, they go down.
That's not going to be peaceful.
So before we get, like, I feel like, first of all, I should say this is by far the most in-depth pitch I think we've had.
That is, it really is.
A lot more than anyone else who has come on this before.
How long have you had this idea for?
God, like, I probably was thinking about this after playing SimCity 2013.
Jeez, okay. Oh my God. So this is your dream game. This is like the perfect game for you.
Yeah, I think I don't know, it was just like an idea, and then every now and again I've thought about like, oh shit, that'd be like a fun game.
So I'm imagining that everything you place has a cost and like a running cost and so hey, I'm going to place this cluster of houses and it costs however much to place, but it also costs 2 electricity to run a tick or a month, however you want to do it. It costs this much food, but they bring in 2 tax counters a month or something.
Yeah.
So everything sort of
tax bucks.
Tax bucks. Everything would cost. So what's the end, like what's the end goal? If it's a roguelike, is it just, how does your city fail? Is it like a revolution happens or like multiple fails?
So I kind of think that there'd be a couple of ways of doing it. Like, I think once the city gets to a certain size and you've got more and more of these events happening, it's more likely to fail. You're more likely to run into problems.
So is it doomed to fail? Like, that's always the ending?
I think like part of me likes the idea that it would be doomed to fail eventually, but that might be a little bit
that's going to
bleak.
get frustrating for the player.
Because I don't
know. Or what if it's like because the first thing that came to mind when you mentioned like a roguelike city builder was that game that came out, I think maybe last year, is it Islanders?
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Super minimalistic, like it's really basic. You just plant. You get packages of things, like you get a farm package.
Oh yeah. Like, I played a bunch of this.
Yeah, silo.
I think you did a video on it.
Oh yeah.
And then you put all that stuff down. You have limited space on an island, which you have a randomly spawned island. You put that all down, and then you have to fill the island. And if you do it in the best way possible, you get points for everything that you put down, right?
Yeah.
So it's just how many points can I get before I fill this island, and then once the island's filled, I go on to the next one.
But each island also took like 5 minutes to finish, right? Like it was
place
all the houses, you place all the silos, you place all the farms, and then you move on to the next island if you've got enough points, and then you kind of chain it on.
Yeah, it was very like chill and casual. And so that's a much kind of simpler version of then.
Well, I'm wondering, what's actually like the play time for each of these cities? If it's, is it really rapid events? Is everything inflated in such a way that each game takes like 10 minutes? So you place all your buildings, you place all your stuff down, and then boom, random event zombies. Or boom, random event peace festival.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, maybe like sort of 1 to 2 hours would be the thing.
Okay.
Maybe like closer to 1 hour. That'd be the average. Like a long game would probably run for 2. A short game, like you could run into problems and your city collapse earlier. And yeah, like you'd have, although it could get frustrating of you failing, I think the way to like mitigate that would be have lots and lots of unique buildings that you won't always be getting in every single playthrough, and have whatever, like a science center, have a rocket ship, have like a super hospital, have
Oh, so you have to like spec your city in such a way that it can build towards that thing, but every game has a different end game building.
Yeah,
so you have
these buildings all the way through the game, and so you might be offered like, oh, would you like, here you go, have like a super police station, a super hospital, or a super fire station, for example. And depending on which one of those you pick, will then open up you to like getting different events or being able to handle previous events. That suddenly now I've got the super fire station. Now that there's the giant forest fires happening, that's now giving me a brand new option just to instantly handle that problem that before was going to be terrible.
Okay.
So are you unlocking these super fire stations is this all just within the same playthrough, or is it like a rogue light? Whereas like, are there things like, for example, say if you had a run where you had the zombie apocalypse and you managed to somehow defeat the zombie apocalypse, and then you would get some kind of item that would then, like the Binding of Isaac thing, the roguelike thing, where you take things with you from a previous run that you can then potentially use in the next run.
So maybe just to promote replayability, that could be just a good way to get people to keep doing new runs. Once you've done certain things, that unlocks you. I don't know, maybe did you play Into the Breach at all?
Yes.
You see that game? Maybe you could unlock new. So you have like a little team of mechs, and you're playing through this game, and the game is basically the same, but whatever mechs you start off with really changes it up. And so, maybe you can unlock different play styles based on the beginning of like, oh, this guy, he starts out with whatever, like more military buildings. He can start out with a military base on the map straight away. Someone else can start out with, the pleasure district. Someone can do casinos, whatever. And
well, I like the idea that you could, what super building you see at the end of the game, you see it right at the very beginning. Like, super fire station, or I don't know, like the CDC building or something like that. You kind of then know a rough course of what events might impact you as well. Because like if you see CDC and the disease research building, then you know that over the course of the game, you're going to get events kind of related to that. So at the end game, in the end event, when it's like, okay, I need to build this building to stop this from happening or whatever, it could be pandemic, it could be zombie virus, it could be anything. So you're like, oh, do I build a ton of guns so that they're protected from this end game event? But then maybe having a ton of guns screws you if you have the wrong event. So you kind of learn the events from the more you play. So I don't think it needs necessarily, you finish a game, you've got bonuses to your future games. I think it just playing the knowledge that you have from previous runs makes future runs easier.
I think something like that. Like FTL definitely. The more you played it, you'd recognize events and you'd know. Oh, okay. Like, bam, that one's always like a really risky option. I won't do that so much. Or I'll definitely get a laser on my spaceship because that will help me in, a whole handful of these events that come up. And, and I think just having, not all of these buildings would have to be like end game. I think just having like wacky buildings that are constantly appearing to you throughout the game that you have the option to build means that it would make you basically you'd have like picture like you're playing Dota and you're going for a specific like build on a character in that, like, oh, I want to play this guy more support, I want to play them more carry, I'm going to try out different combinations of stuff and see how much better that works. I think kind of that sort of idea, like you're speccing your city into
it's like a
different
combination of like the skill tree, the spec, and what SimCity used to do with, hey, I want to really have okay, I've started with oil, so I know I can only really do oil, but do I want to then process that and turn it into petrol? Do I want to then turn the petrols and use the plastics? And you can go down certain routes, which obviously stops you from, because you've only got so much room, stops you from doing other routes. But you can like be an expert, like sort of really go hard on export and trade, or you can keep it within your island, but then also pull in resources from other locations, which is what I really liked about SimCity, was how you could basically spec different towns to do different things, and you all come together for one, like you had the big goal that you could do with like what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. You could do a rocket ship or
there was like the arcology and the super power station,
like
and
that's really good because you start out with a set, not scenario as such, you're limited by the resources you have there and you have to use them to your best ability. So I don't know whether a game like this would benefit from having like scenarios. So you start off with, here's a small town, it's really low income and it's high crime, and it's like you need to get it to here and here by year 5 or something like that. Do you know how in like Planet Coaster or those games, you're like, here's a failing park, you need to have 4-star, have
okay, so it's not a sandbox game then.
So I think you could have a sandbox mode, but I think the problem with that is when you give people, this is the problem I have with City Skylines, is when you give people unlimited ability to do whatever, you just the attention just peters off, right? If you give someone a goal and then by the time they've reached that goal, they're sort of at the cusp of their attention for that bit, you then introduce a completely new thing and they're back up there, the interest is peaked again and it starts to trail off again. But with like things like Planet Coaster, if you have so much freedom, you end up sort of confined just doing that over and over again, and you sort of hinders your progress.
No, I super get that. I think like having having unique buildings, and let's say there's a pool of 200 of them, and in any given playthrough you'll only see 10. I think like straight up that would probably help. But in turn, I like the idea of scenarios. That could be a thing where if you want to keep people coming back and playing, a bit like Slay the Spire had the daily runs. For a long time I was obsessed with those daily runs, and I'd play them every single day, and coming up with just like stupid like scenarios that you just fire out, and that'd be a way just to promote like people coming back. And if the game is short enough, then suddenly if you can get this on mobile, if you can play it on a tablet or something,
that's why I'm thinking maybe compress it down even further, so it's not like the 2-hour games, it's like 15, 20 minute. Like you launch the game, you see the land, and it's just a couple of roads. It's not even houses or anything like that. You see, I don't know, a mountain region or a snowy area or something like that. And then right at the start of the game, you can pick some of the buildings you want to see. Kind of like maybe it kind of adds like a deck building to it, I suppose. But you can say, I want houses, I want hospital, I want gun shop, I want police station. I can only pick 5. I'll also pick this thing. And then you just go with the run and just see how good you can make the city with just those limited resources. And then in future runs,
that would be really good, because especially if you know the end goal. So if you say, I've got to do this within 5 years, then you know what you start to, and then you get that learn over time thing that you like so much, where you're like, last time
I like so much
that you like so much. But last time I had 2 fire stations, and I know that helped me get to like reach level 10 fire safety or whatever the skill is, and so I know I need those to help me get that within that time frame, but that also means I'm going to lose out on this, which I also need. So how do I balance that? And I think that is where you get the replayability of, I can do this quicker, I can do this faster.
Well, I think for me as well, like what I find really interesting is with any city builder game, the most exciting moment for me, and this is why I loved Islanders so much, was the first like 5 minutes of a city builder game, when it feels like, okay, it's the same feeling as like when you start a new world in Minecraft or that kind of thing, where you're like, okay, the world is my oyster, I can do anything. And that feeling, like Islanders was really good because it took that and just made a whole game out of it. But I think having shorter runs, like closer to what Tom was saying, is like you
still
mean
get pistol
that
whip
constant feel of, pistol whip.
Thanks, thank you.
I feel like it gives it that more, and also like it's a roguelike, so I mean like it can't, like the runs can't be that long, right? Because otherwise it just becomes like, I mean, it doesn't have to be a roguelike, I guess, but like if you're playing a roguelike that's like with like hour-long runs, does that become quite draining? Like, do you want that feeling of like, okay, I'm ready to go straight in again after this run?
I don't know. Slay the Spire can take that long. Like, I think the average run for Slay the Spire is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Really? Okay.
I mean, for most people. I mean, obviously, me and Tom, we're pros. We can we can really trim that shit down to like 20 minutes tops. But
okay, if you're pros, I'd like to. What about someone who isn't? Like, okay, Ruta.
Yeah.
Have you ever played any like
city builders?
Like like city builders. Like, do you like those kind of games? Like,
I did definitely play SimCity.
The 2013 one?
Yeah, I'm not really a fan because I don't have patience for those things, I think.
Patience.
I can't play. I can play for like a day or two, and then like I will forget. I'm not playing Animal Crossing anymore because I'm just like, oh no, it's too much.
So that's the exact same problem that I have, is that I think I lose, and maybe this just means that this game isn't for me or Ruth of it. Like I lose patience with games that become quite in depth quite quickly, like with all like theme parks, Planet Zoo, all of those things. Like after about the initial hour or so goes past of like, okay, I'm starting to like, I love the idea of making this world, but actually it's quite a lot of effort.
Yeah,
but why does the scenarios thing not fix that?
For example, about those games, like most of the time, you need to unlock like bridges or ships or planes to go to another places to get another stuff, let's say. And I hate it. I don't want travel now. Like I don't want to build a city now. I want to travel and then build a city.
But that's what this game is. This is the city builder to end all long form city builders, right? This is you have these really compressed runs, so you don't have like say City Skylines. There's so many games of City Skylines I've started, saved it, think I really enjoyed that, I'll play it tomorrow, and I never do because I just don't want to reload a game.
Exactly. Oh, it reminds me of that fucking, if you see that video of Sips looking through his old Prison Architect playthroughs. Like he loaded it up to the last, he hadn't played it for like 2 years or something, and he loaded it back up, and the last save file was called "This fucking game can suck my ass."
That's
exactly how I feel when you just get so frustrated with like how long it takes. It feels like a real slog. So to be able to compress that,
and it's
that'd be the dream.
it's very like what's the word? Liner? No.
Linear.
Linear, yeah. When it's like you need to do this step, then you can unlock this, and like, cause like there's not many options in it.
I don't know. I think if there's say there's 100 like end game events, and then I don't know, like 500 mid-game events that could happen, and they could be all varying different things. Like, there's a medicine shortage, or there's a food shortage, or money's gone down, or money's gone up, or people have guns, people don't have guns, police are going crazy, police are going just fine. Like,
I really like the idea of that. Like, if you rather than how about if maybe like keeping the idea of scenarios, but rather than just like the game begins and you're like, okay, this is the end game scenario. There's a meteor coming or something in 5 years. Build towards that, or what? But yeah, you have
like train some Tom, miners to be astronauts.
Well, you have some. You have some initial like scenarios with like a first. There's a 1 year plan or whatever, and then you have an early, mid, and late game scenario that you build up to. And maybe the final scenario is zombie apocalypse, but maybe the first scenario is like a minor pandemic or a minor epidemic that's confined to a certain area. I don't know, or something. I don't know, but like something that starts off like a scenario that starts off small, and then you can just get bigger and bigger towards the end. So you're working towards something.
Yeah, I mean, look. Ever since Tom said "Slay the Spire," I really want to turn this into a deck building game.
Well, how would that work?
So. Imagine, right? Like I said, you open the game, you see the early game, mid game, maybe late game events. Like, you know what they're going to be, and they're increasing in severity.
You know all of it straight away.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, possibly.
Okay.
But you have, like in Slay the Spire, when you start, you've got attacks, you've got defend cards, right? In this, you've got houses, you've got shops.
Right. There is this game does kind of exist.
Oh fuck! Really?
There's a game called Concrete Jungle. It isn't exactly what you're saying, but it is a deck building city builder.
No way. Hang on. All right, gotta go, guys. I've got to go play that.
I feel like it's both good and bad that most of Tom's ideas already exist.
Well, so yeah, you have these things, and then every like milestone, you then have a new card that you can add. So maybe an event comes up, and it's like. Something really, in the early game, it's something really simple. It's like, oh, we've got low population. We need to build more people. We need to build more people, build more houses.
Build them.
And you can be like, yeah, I've already done that. Here's my population meter. It's on 5 or whatever. And that's the prerequisite to pass that event. And that gives you like, okay, 3 cards show up, 3 new amenities that you can build. So police station, fire station, something else, a hospital, whatever. And then you pick from those. And as you're going through all these events and adding new cards to your deck, you're adding in the knowledge that this is the boss that you're going to face. This is the event that you're going to go against, right?
Right.
And I guess if you go through the game like 100 times, you know what the events are going to require, right? But there's enough events. Are
you basically just saying that like the buildings are essentially cards in a deck? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
But what...
It comes up event housing crisis. You just throw down a block of flats.
Exactly.
But
or maybe if, like as you're going through, like everything has like a bar, right? There's the populometer. There's the
that is what we would call it.
The populometer, right? And the medicometer, and the fireometer, and the policeometer, and all of the copometer, and like. All of these things, as you build new things, just raises them up, lowers them down. There's maybe like 0 is the base level, and they can go into negative, they can go into positive. But it's not necessarily bad if they're in the negative, because some events require that to pass it, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is right. You're kind of like hitting what I was trying to explain. Like this is definitely what I want going on.
Bam.
Like if you have low population, an event will come up that might be like, oh, do you want to build slums? And they will then have like a negative on your city, but that just instantly gives you 5 population.
But now you can build slums. Like you couldn't build slums before. Now you can.
It gives you like +2 to crime.
There's more crime.
Oh yeah, but then
so you build more police stations.
And you have a degree of like, oh god, like I'm now kind of circling the drain. I'm now just fighting fires with the cards that are presented to me.
I love that idea that it feels like you're constantly like losing, like fighting a losing battle.
Oh yeah,
like trying to scrabble You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to not have your city completely set
It's like Don't Starve, right? Don't Starve is a game that's doomed to fail. Like the only way you win that is by losing, right?
Yeah.
And surviving as long as possible. That's what Don't Starve is. So I don't think it's necessarily frustrating that you can die.
A good thing, if it's going to be like a deck builder style thing still, I don't know.
Card slinger.
Where we are with that. But if you had 50 cards or something, but you need to build them, but 5 of them have to be negative. So you might draw a thing that says like big fire starts in the district, but you can only have 5 cards in your hand. So you have to play that at one point. So you need to build up the things to then be able to play that, to deal with it, to get rid of it,
I'm confused as to what, like, the cards are literally a card with a picture of a building on it. It's just a building.
You could do it in the way that Islanders did it, because that was effectively...
Yeah,
those could be seen as cards.
They were cards, yeah, you're right.
Although they were just like building to the bottom of your screen, maybe that would be a simple like way to sort of like take what is kind of like a card deck building thing without it being a deck. You just have a set amount of resources.
It's a common interface that people are familiar with, I guess.
Yeah, and it's simple enough.
But yeah, I like if the events are like, maybe there's an event that's like fill your hand with fire cards, and you're like, shit, I have to place fires. And maybe you can put them somewhere. Maybe you just throw them out and they just cause a fire. But like, maybe the events are also cards.
You have to, if you go into it knowing that somewhere in this pile there's 5. I know what 5 are because I've chosen them. They're not necessarily the easiest. Is that I know that I have the cards, the good cards, to deal with these things when I know I have to play them. You don't have to play it as soon as you get it. You can hold it back until you've earned it. But you know that it's limiting the number of cards you can have in your hand to progress even further. So you have to do 1 step back to progress 2 steps forward.
Okay, how about if you were, say for example, as you're placing buildings down, you're progressing through the game, you're like changing the economy, you're changing the population and the culture and stuff, and you're progressing through time essentially as well as your city gets bigger. If there's some kind of mechanic that, I don't know, like say if whenever you place one building down, or when it's that adds so much time to the timer, like 1 week or 1 day or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so far, like say after so much time has passed, you have a countdown basically saying that the next event will happen in 6 months.
Yeah.
So once you've reached
that's like 12 cards, right?
Yeah, and you have no idea what that event's going to be. That's just a random pool of like say low tier events. The first low tier is like, I don't know, like what type.
Oh, so it's kind of like XCOM.
Population problem. Maybe that kind of,
You're scanning and it says like, oh, the next building's going to be built in like a week, but you don't know when it's going to be, and it kind of happens. I like that.
And then eventually, but then the higher tier ones are like, okay, you have 6 months, and then you start building, because you don't know what it's going to be. You know it's going to be something big, so you build up some kind of. Say if you're like, oh fuck, what if it's going to be an epidemic? I have to build up an infrastructure to support that, and then you get to 6 months, and it's an alien invasion, and you're like, fuck,
oh my god,
we have no weapons, we've got no defenses for that. I don't know what to do now, and then you suddenly have to. You have to figure out how to survive an alien invasion.
I think it would be first contact, right? But if your city has loads of guns and stuff, then one of the options is just wipe them off the earth, right? Or maybe if you've got loads of like housing and stuff, maybe you can bring them into your city, right? There's loads of different first contact has so many different paths off of it. But if you eliminate them, then that opens up the event of alien invasion. Like they come back and get revenge.
Yeah. This is exactly it. That's like perfect.
Okay.
You have, depending on just what you have in your city. Like if you've got, loads of, I don't know, peace parks. With peace parks.
Zen gardens.
Zen gardens. I don't know. Yeah. Then that would give you an option. It would say like, oh, you've got this because you have 3 Zen gardens. If you've done the gun things previously, we're going to kill them. And you would always have just like 2 default options of, talk to them or do not talk to them, and that would have its own things. But depending on like stuff that you've built, will just give you like more options on these events.
I don't think there should be anything that's like out of nowhere. Just like everything needs to have a cause, right? Like if you just suddenly say zombie invasion, and you're just like,
I quite like the
fuck.
fucking just completely out of nowhere, like just throwing people a curveball and then them having to figure out how to.
You can
deal
have
with
some
it.
curveball, but if you can't have like out of nowhere, like all the events so far has been about peace parks, festivals, and stuff, and then all of a sudden, alien.
But the problem is you get RNG. People don't like. Well, generally, people don't like playing something where the game causes them to fail. If that makes sense. So when you just throw something at someone and they lose, they get frustrated.
Right?
Yeah, but they get frustrated. They do get frustrated at the game, right? If you say in 6 months' time, here's a thing, they have time to prepare, and if they lose, it's their fault. Like they made the wrong decisions that time. When you
that's fair. Yeah, okay.
Need to give people like the chance to be able to mitigate all of these problems.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Let's say if you build if you've got like loads of hospitals, that might be like, oh, there's an unknown illness has hit your city, and if you don't have loads of hospitals, it's just like, just see how it goes. But if you've got lots, you can be like, okay, do tests, and it can be like, oh, it turns out this might be some kind of zombie thing, and that would then warn you about a thing that's coming up later. Whereas if you hadn't chosen those options earlier or spec'd your city into that sort of direction, then it's kind of your own fault for, oh shit, we just weren't prepared for something like this. We didn't do any tests.
Well, that's the thing. That's my biggest problem with RimWorld, is that there's a lot of stuff that RimWorld does right, but there are so many times I've lost a run because, like, oh, okay, I guess there's a heat stroke and I didn't build coolers. Oh, I guess there's a 400-person raid happening now. Like,
oh yeah, so
how am I meant to solve that?
Happened, and all my turrets are offline, and then a big attack came in. Oh, I guess I just die.
I guess I just lose. I guess I'll start again. I suppose, but that's a game where it does feel like the game is actively trying to kill you.
I think it's actively trying to test you.
Before we kind of try and crystallize it a little bit more, Router, is that sounding a bit more appealing to you now? Like it's not as much as a just straight up city builder that you're going to potentially get bored with in the first half an hour.
It's not a game you're going to get bored with. That's our pitch.
I definitely feel like it's different, and I think that Greg would really love it. I can imagine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can imagine him sitting there and playing it non-stop. And
in your head, what does it look like? Like, is it for you? Is it isometric?
To be honest, the Tom Senja's Concrete Jungle, and I love this art. To be honest, I love the way it looks, and I love the character designs. So I imagine maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks kind of like. This just looks like old school SimCity-ish to me.
It looks
like a bit more colourful.
Very mobile friendly.
It's just like brighter, a bit prettier.
Yeah, it's very
cute.
Yeah, okay.
And I imagine.
I feel like we should describe it maybe for the audio listeners.
No, I think we just
like
look at it.
Colourful SimCity.
Yeah, it's isometric, 2.5D, pixel art-y kind of game.
Grid.
SimCity, old SimCity. It's the best way of describing it. Man, this looks awesome. Actually, I'm getting it.
It's
this
a
looks
lot of
a
fun.
little bit like those.
I'm really sad seeing that there's not many reviews under this game, Concrete Jungle.
I mean, you say that it's got a 76 Metacritic, and that's pretty bloody good.
I'm looking in Steam page.
Router, yeah. There's going to be tons of reviews for it after this episode goes live.
Yeah. Actually, for a $5, it's pretty good.
The exposure we're giving it right now, oh my god. Like 4 people are going to buy this game because of us.
We're recommending this and no one's played it.
No.
Might be awful.
But yeah, so are you still not super into it? It's a super quick
I would
random
try
event.
I would definitely try it.
Try it.
Yeah.
Try it. That's a new rating. Would you try it?
You would get the demo.
I promise that I would love it because I'm very basic. Let's be honest. I like basic games, and I don't have patience. But yeah, I would try. I try it. I'm into this.
Okay. So what exactly is it at this point?
What?
What is like?
Can someone
we've said so many ideas.
This game?
I
feel like we have lots of
city
different...
builder.
Roguelike city builder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deck building.
And it's not cards It's things that you could represent as cards if you wanted to. You're basically placing stuff, but you choose what you want to place.
It's a picture of a house on the shape of a card.
Right,
but it's not cards.
But it's not cards.
No, it's blocks. It's wooden blocks, and you throw them onto the board. Also, it's physics based. You throw the blocks onto the board, and you just have to hope that it lands where you want it to.
Someone's feature creeping.
Oh my god.
So you're like, oh, I need a hospital here. There's fires over here, but you throw the dice a little bit too far. And you're like, oh shit, you
physically have to throw a bucket of water.
No.
What are those mini city games that you've been playing, Tom? On you've been recording some stuff for your channel, right? Or did you do it a little while ago? Like the physical cities that I'm talking about.
Oh,
what is that?
Geocrapers.
That's it. So is that? I mean, that's literally just like that. Just have. How does it work? You just click the little.
Yeah, they're just like little, desktop toys type thing. Like that you don't really do anything with them. They're just cute to look at, and you just kind of like click these buildings together.
Is that what you're imagining when you're doing it? You're imagining this game playing out.
I think having a bit of a map and just putting tiles down on it, and some of the buildings might be bigger, some might be smaller. Maybe they'll kind of clump together if you put some together. But yeah, you just are placing these things. Maybe fire stations, whatever, will have like a radius that they make people happier if they're nearer a fire station, for example.
That's something we haven't talked about yet, because that's in Ireland as well, right? That's like if you put wheat fields next to a farm or next to a silo or whatever, you get bonuses for that stuff.
Yeah.
Can you just put these buildings wherever you want? Sorry, Rita.
Okay. Maybe it's totally random, but when we were talking about like hospitals and if there's too many hospitals, and I thought like, what if there's too many hospitals? Then people get too healthy, or maybe too arrogant, and they don't want to farm anymore. So your food is dropping because no one is farming and no one is making any food. So you need to balance those things, maybe.
There's definitely mega downsides to people being too healthy. Maybe crime increases because people are like, oh well, I mean, I could just get
shot and it's fine.
Yeah, I'll just crash a car into a shop. I've said that one before, but whatever, it's fine. Maybe they're so healthy they gain superpowers. And they're supervillains.
Well, I think if you take like Roots' idea, and it feels like you're putting loads of schools and universities down, so you're because you've got loads of schools, that means we can now build the science center, which gives us something later on. But there could be an event coming up of like people don't want to do low paying jobs anymore.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everyone's too smart to do these menial tasks, and then all of a sudden these become really important, and everyone realizes this.
Those become problems later. So have like events that are rewarding you for doing these like weird builds, but also there are repercussions that will come from doing these, but on quite like a simple way.
One thing.
But basically, every building that you're putting down is having some kind of immediate impact and some kind of like latent impact.
Like a passive and an active.
It's going to happen.
That's why I'm imagining it on a simplistic level. Is just everything has bars, and all of these events that come up are just 5 in population rather than large population or something.
Exactly.
Obscure,
Keep those numbers real basic, real.
Yeah, so
real
not
simple.
like 90,000 people. Oh, I've only got 89,000. That sucks.
But like
one thing I do wonder is so I was obviously looking at Concrete Jungle. Most of the screenshots are like a 10 by 10 grid. Are we a grid base and then you can expand outwards, or is it you've got all this room? Like, how do you?
I like the idea that you're saying about having an island as a way to kind of like as a way to give you a vague like time limit or build option. And I think you'd have to play around with how big that island is, to how much time you can spend and how much you can really build. But I think like instantly that's a way to put an artificial time limit on there. And maybe, you can even choose like, we recommend you play on a, 25 by 25 map. But if you want to play a big game, here you go, here's a 50 by 50. See how far you can get. Or, boom, speed runs, here's a 10 by 10. Like, how good a city can you make in the 10 by 10 map?
I think it also means that you have to think about what you want to place. So if you go, okay, I've got this much room, I'm going to place this. This is quite a big building. I need this like now, but later on it's going to become useless. But that means I'm not going to be able to build this other thing that I need later if I want to put that here. So if there's like you could demolish buildings later on or at a cost.
Oh no!
You need to they're there and they're
like permanent.
Right. Okay.
I like the permanence of it. I feel like because then that really makes you think about every action.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be able to get events that allow you to destroy some buildings at a penalty, like a big penalty.
Earthquake.
Maybe like an earthquake happens and you've got to like rebuild. And
you got to hope.
So it's like earthquake. Choose 3 buildings that you want. Just like 3 buildings will have to go.
Oh, I see. Like a sector.
You can choose. Right.
Earthquake's
so it's
definitely random. Definitely random.
Yeah. All RNG.
Could you like renovate them after some time?
Yeah, I feel like that would be a thing that you could do, like upgrading buildings and stuff
maybe
like that would be.
If it
but
is
then perhaps that's only if you
right?
if you put like so many if you have so many like government or civic buildings, that will increase the rate or the likelihood of like areas being renovated that have been damaged.
Yeah,
or something.
No, I think that's like, especially with this, like because it's stats based. If you say, at a base, this level 1, block of flats does this much, this much, and this much. Over time, I can if I build these things to fulfill the requirements to level it up, then I can then level it up for a small cost. But I know that those stats are now even better.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like a really good idea. Like you're starting out and you'll be putting down residential tiles and whatever. Like a little tile will have just a couple of like tiny little houses on. But the moment that has access to a bunch of different things that are in your city, those will start to get bigger and then we'll be supporting more people. But then when you have more people, that's going to create more problems. And I think have your city kind of growing like that, growing up as well as like out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that helps it sort of, it gives you micro goals to want to achieve along the way.
On just like tiny little areas that you're like, I want this little district to be better. And if you've got these pre-made maps and you've got rivers and mountains and stuff like that, maybe those are going to give you effects as well. Buildings on the waterfront are going to be more desirable than buildings that are just not on the waterfront. People
maybe there's only certain buildings you can only build on a mountain, like an observatory or something like that.
Yeah, exactly that kind of stuff.
Man, I'm into this. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like super quick, like playtime. I think. Well, it's not super quick, but you can play it like 45 minutes, like a Slay the Spire run. Like it's as fast as you make it, right? But
it's lunchtime.
There's enough. It's like there's enough intricacy in there, and if there's enough random events as well, that every time you play it, your city looks totally different at the end to your previous run because of these events, because of the buildings you get or whatever. I think it's super cool. I'm into it. I like it a lot.
Boom.
I love it.
Should we do a quick roundup?
We'll do the roundup. Yeah.
So Tom, I guess you're in.
I'm sorry. I'm Ace
Pistol
Thunder
Whip.
Bang, aren't I?
Ace Thunderclap.
Sorry, Ace Thunderclap Iceman.
No, the Thunderclap.
Thumbs up.
That's not. You don't say the word Thunderclap. You actually have to make the noise.
You make the noise, right? Okay.
My name is Ace.
Wow.
Nice. Wow.
Oh, I never normally do
So
these.
immersive.
Cool. Yeah, no, I would play the shit out of it. Would I make it? No, because I can't make games. I think it's cool, though. I think it's very cool.
I think I love the idea of it. I love the idea that I would play it. I think realistically, I probably would play one run of it and then get frustrated because my head just doesn't really work with those games very well. Islanders is about as far as like the roguelike kind of like city builder goes for me.
But wouldn't you want to see what other runs would look like, though?
Well, that's it. I would love to watch other people play it, but I don't think I myself would play it. I don't know. I would either just play one run and then be like, I can't do it, or I would just get absolutely like enveloped by it, and I would.
So what you're saying is, Alex, you would watch twitch.tv/Angory Tom play it.
Yeah, I would
play it.
I would watch
stream.
Tom play it. Yeah. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I would play it. So I'm really intrigued by the look of Concrete Jungle, and I think when we got rid of the sandboxiness of it, it interested me more. Again, I think when I am confronted with, hey, let your imagination run wild, my imagination runs off, and I just don't know what. I'm just like, this is too much, and then I normally just go into debt straight away because I'm like,
that's the thing with the scenarios thing. I'd love to see people like doing runs of it where it's like, oh, I'm doing zombie apocalypse on a 10x10 grid, and people are like, what? That's insane! 10x10, it can't be done.
Mom, get the camera.
So does that mean you would make it as well?
I mean,
your
I
kind of game.
I like stat kind of games. I like if things look nice. I like the really satisfying plonk that you get from Sim City when you play building.
Yeah,
I
it's a very
feel like
satisfying.
this is a good Alistair game as well. I feel like Alistair would be
Alistair loves
interested
some
in making
stats.
this
He loves as I always say, he loves a good back end. I would. Yeah.
And Ruta, how about you? Okay, well, in terms of the artwork, you seem pretty excited about that, right?
Yeah, I would definitely make it. It looks really, really fun to do it, and I never did something like that, like from that kind of perspective and just that kind of game, and I would definitely try it, to be honest. I'm kinda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like the only one who said kind of a slightly negative thing about. No, not a negative. I think it's a great idea. I just think.
Wow.
I would try it. I'm not promising that I will play it for a very long time.
I should play the demo.
Ruta, you did great. You gave the exact answer we wanted. Alex, on the other hand, oh my god, just shut that shit down straight away.
It's mostly positive.
Honestly, we're going to be lucky if this episode goes out. Alex hates the idea so much.
Just the hate.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you as always.
Wait, what's the name?
Iceman.
Oh, we come up with a name.
Shit. Oh my god.
Tom
Crete Jungle.
Tom Crete Jungle.
Tom Crete Jungle. I love it.
Right,
no,
it's a city builder. It's got deck building stuff, random events, FTL, CTL,
City Than Light.
Ooh, city lights. I like that. Like City Light. But it's spelled LITE.
LITE. Okay, City Light.
Oh no, it's CT Light. LITE. CTLITE.
Why the CT?
Because it sounds like city. And CT stands for.
That's my initials in reverse.
Nice.
Oh my god, perfect. Okay,
right. But the CT stands for city.
Transport.
City transport light.
Yeah, sure. Okay, all right. Well,
so the C
Iceman?
in city stands for city.
Yeah. The T in city stands for tea.
Okay.
Weird thumbnail.
Chris and Ruta, thank you very much again. And Tom, thank you very much. Iceman. Wait, what was it? Sorry.
Iceman.
Iceman. Amazing. Yeah, that's CT Light.
City Light.
Great.
Great.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Oh my fucking
god. Bye. Bye.